wondering, maybe he's not being elevated to this status yet. It's because he's not taking it seriously and he's not learning or he's not doing this. And I would be stunned if that's the case.
People are going to look at him and consider that immature. I don't consider him immature. I think that he can play. I think that he's a leader. I think that a lot is prejudged when it comes to him. I think it's unfair. I can't wait to see him get his chance on the football field or whatever. I just think that at times, I wish people see ahead of time how they're going to judge you and how you should be. They shouldn't judge him. It's no big deal because every word he says, we micromanage, we dissect, and folks judge him accordingly. And I think that was his way of saying, you know what? If you don't hear anything that I have to say, okay, that's cool. And it's not a big deal, but folks are gonna make it out to a big deal.
Shedeur Sanders just got cooked like a marshmallow left in the fire too long. And guess who struck the match? Rich Eisen, turning his mic into a straight-up flamethrower. Instead of running from the Cleveland Browns like they're a cursed Tinder match, Shedeur doubled down, and Rich Eisen wasn't about to let that slide. The man went full comedy special, torching Sanders' loyalty like it was the punchline of the week. But let's break this down. Why did Shedeur stay? Is it loyalty, pride, or did somebody hide his car keys? This whole thing feels like watching someone refuse to leave the Titanic because the band's still playing. You almost want to scream, "Get off the ship, bro!" But nope. He's staying, smiling, and pretending the leaks don't exist while Rich Eisen lights up every microphone in sight.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Like, who goes up to a third-string quarterback says you've been passed over?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, you're starting stuff. It's like
or like, what's your thoughts on the decision to start Dylan Gabriel over you?
Nothing he said was going to work in his favor. Exactly. If he said something,
no, I know that, but he could basically say, "I'm going to stay ready." He could have said, yeah, right. And instead, he's now giving fodder for people who are ready to attack him. And he's giving fodder to people who are, maybe who definitely don't have his best interest in mind.
Eisen didn't just make jokes, he went in. He stomped through that situation like a toddler splashing puddles after a storm, gleefully dragging the Browns and Sanders through the mud. Because let's face it, the Browns are chaos wrapped in disappointment. Choosing them as your forever home is like building a dream mansion right in a hurricane path and then acting shocked when the windows explode. Shedeur staying put isn't just loyalty, it's something else. Maybe it's blind faith. Maybe it's a football version of Stockholm Syndrome. And Eisen saw that opening like it was a buffet line, stacking plate after plate of mockery until Sanders looked like the main course. Most players smell dysfunction and bounce before the ink dries, but not Shedeur. He's standing tall in the storm, daring the world to laugh harder. He basically wrapped his arms around the Browns' chaos like it was his favorite blanket, as if staying loyal to a franchise built on heartbreak, confusion, and pure mediocrity was some kind of heroic act. Rich Eisen wasted zero time calling it what it is, the sports version of refusing to leave a haunted house even after the walls start bleeding. That's not loyalty.
How it's working?
I know.
You know how it works? His last name is Sanders, and everyone's going up to the... Did anyone go up to Jameis when Jackson Dart got the gig?
Not that I saw.
Right.
Yeah.
Did anyone go up to the third stringer and ask them, why is Carson Wentz getting it? You know what I mean? But it's different. It's different. We all know how Shedeur was born into this world and born into this league.
Yeah.
But it's also going to engender whether he's serious or not, because he pantomimed his answer.
That's madness dressed up as courage. But hey, maybe there's a weird kind of bravery in it. Maybe Shedeur truly believes he's the chosen one, the guy who'll flip the Browns' cursed history into a redemption story for the ages. But bravery and stubbornness, they're twins in disguise. And Eisen flipped that coin live on air, heads for courage, tails for chaos, and when it landed, he laughed and said what everyone was thinking. What were you thinking? Eisen didn't just tease, he turned Shedeur's decision into a full-blown comedy act. This man's seen everything.
Shedeur, not the backup. We're moving on from Joe Flacco. We're trying to figure out who's the starting quarterback or if Gabriel can be a starter in this league. I want to also know that about Shedeur. So why is Shedeur not the backup? That would be a starting point for me. Is that helping you in your own building? And then is that helping you in your outside of your own building? Is there another team, a general manager, a president, a decision maker that's going, I liked that. I think that person's going to help us. I think that person's a good enough player that can help us. I think he can help our building, our organization, our locker room, make us better. And so while he may not be an immature person, and I agree with a lot of things that Stephen A. said, that's an immature moment. And I hope that there's somebody that in Shedeur's circle that says, hey, be yourself. I just don't think that that's helping you when it comes to you solidifying a role in a job at that spot in the NFL.
Players come and go, fans lose hope, and teams collapse faster than a folding chair at a family BBQ. So when he locked in on Shedeur's wild commitment, it was open season and the jokes flew like confetti. It felt like watching a stand-up comic finally meet the heckler they've been waiting for. Shedeur became that heckler, calm, unbothered, and low-key hilarious, while Eisen emptied the whole bag of Brown's jokes in one roast session. And the craziest part, Shedeur didn't even flinch. Like a Thanksgiving turkey meditating at a yoga retreat, he sat there chilling, totally at peace, while the world laughed around him. He's calm, collected, and looking like he's rehearsing a motivational speech about loyalty and trusting the vision. Meanwhile, Rich Eisen is practically yelling, "You stayed with the Browns?"
Tear him down, and it's not going to be helpful. If you want to be, taken seriously in this league, it's not going to be helpful. It just won't. And even if he's trying to make a point that you're going to use words against me, or whatever, you're still going to be criticized no matter.
The contrast is pure comedy gold. It's like someone bragging about their relationship while proudly saying they just married into a chaotic reality TV family. The Browns aren't just a struggling team. They're where hope goes to take its final nap. Every season the fans swear, this is the year, and every season the universe says, nah, not yet. So when Shedeur clings to that mess like it's destiny, it stops being loyalty. It becomes sitcom-level absurdity.
As a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick to get a chance to go start. So let me step back, go look at maybe the Saints. I know it's not a great organization right now, but I can compete there. Kellen Moore's the head coach. Go look at some of these other teams to where I can go compete maybe in year 1 or 2 that have a veteran quarterback instead of just going to Cleveland and getting buried on a depth chart. So again, I don't know if it's true.
That's what he saw in Cleveland though. He could have told Cleveland the same shit, right? Don't draft me. But he accepted it because that's what he saw in Cleveland.
And if that's the case,
I
just don't like that.
Yeah,
so you would have went to Baltimore because that's the...
Eisen couldn't help himself. The man wasn't roasting out of hate, he was roasting out of pure disbelief. It's the same energy as watching your friend order gas station sushi and then say, this is gourmet. You can't even get mad. It's just jaw-dropping confusion mixed with amusement. And here's the kicker. This isn't a one-time thing. Shedeur is doubling down, planting his flag in Cleveland like it's Beverly Hills real estate. He's staying firm, proud, and fully committed. And Eisen turned it into late-night comedy gold without breaking a sweat. A quarterback choosing the Browns is beyond bold. It's historical-level irony. You can't even call it cruel anymore. It's just free entertainment for the masses. The more Shedeur insists he's all in, the funnier it gets. It's like watching someone buy into a pyramid scheme while talking about long-term growth. Everyone else can see the scam clear as day, but the guy inside swears he's holding the golden ticket. Fans are split, half of them cheering his loyalty like he's the second coming of football greatness, and the other half screaming at their TV.
Source tells me that it wasn't just the Baltimore Ravens. It was 3 teams, the Cleveland Browns, the Philadelphia Eagles, and it also was Baltimore Ravens. Now this is where the perspective gets skewed, because why would Shedeur not want to go to Baltimore? If any team has been on the cutting edge of saying we figured out the recipe of drafting and developing good players to play great and elite, that's one of the teams that does it at a high level. Why not go to Baltimore? The second team, Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been nothing less.
Bro, get out while you can. And through it all, Rich Eisen is standing there with a bucket of popcorn, roasting both sides like it's the Super Bowl of sarcasm. Maybe that's the real punchline. Shedeur isn't running from the chaos. He's leaning all the way in. He's betting on the long game, turning himself into the ultimate underdog, the kind that either pulls off a miracle for the ages or ends up being the punchline of football jokes forever. Either way, people can't look away. And Eisen, he's cashing every second of it in, carving Shedeur's decisions into comedy sharper than a steak knife. Just picture it. Eisen grinning, Shedeur smiling like he's got it all figured out, and the Browns in the background accidentally setting a new record for most creative way to self-destruct. The whole scene feels like a circus where the clown knows he's the clown, but insists he's actually the ringmaster. And Eisen's just there, pointing at him like this. This right here is why we bought tickets. Because at the heart of it, this isn't even about football anymore. It's about the show. The drama, the delusion, the loyalty that borders on comedy. It's the art of staying on a sinking ship while everyone else is yelling for a lifeboat. Shedeur's decision isn't just a football move, it's a live-action meme, written in real time with cameras rolling and commentators laughing. Eisen's ridicule isn't just teasing, it's the punchline the entire NFL didn't realize it was missing. But here's where it gets wild. If Shedeur actually pulls it off, if he somehow drags Cleveland out of the mud and turns them into contenders, Eisen's roast instantly becomes the setup for the greatest sports redemption arc ever.
I love Rich Rod. That's one of my favorite coaches. He can't tell Shedeur how if he's studying. You don't know if he's studying or not. You don't know how she be acting.
That's true.
You don't know that, right? You can talk about, yo, man, I watched him play. He's not reading coverages. He's holding the ball. So that's cool. For Dan, for Rex, for you, for me, that's cool. But you start telling some dude how he should approach the game, you cannot tell them that.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly. But I disagree with it wholeheartedly.
But how? Because so how can you, it's like, okay, I'm a running back, right?
Yep.
You could tell me maybe how I should carry the ball, how I should read the defense, how I should block. You can't tell me how I should approach the game.
The laughter would flip to applause, the memes to cheers, and the clown everyone mocked would be the one holding the keys to the entire circus. But until that miracle happens, the clown show continues, and the jokes keep flying like footballs on a windy day. Shedeur is still the guy who looked at the Cleveland Browns and said, yeah, this is home. That's not loyalty, that's comedy in full motion. The Browns don't just lose, they perform their losses with the kind of drama that deserves an Emmy. Every season feels like a soap opera titled, As the Playoffs Never Come. And still there's Shedeur, proudly planting his flag in that chaos like he just found buried treasure in a landfill. Rich Eisen didn't miss a beat. He knew what everyone else was thinking, and he couldn't let it slide. The ridicule wasn't just a choice, it was destiny. Eisen transformed into a full-on roast master, listing every reason staying with the Browns makes about as much sense as buying blockbuster stock in 2025. The crowd didn't just laugh, they howled, because when it comes to Cleveland, the jokes write themselves. And the wild part, Eisen wasn't being mean, he was being real.
Seen Shedeur Sanders and the way he plays quarterback, rolling around out there if you don't have the athleticism of Lamar Jackson doesn't work. It makes you take a ton of sacks in college, and the whole game now is how fast do you make the decisions? When you mentioned Tua before, it's the fastest it's ever been done. Dan Marino was special because it was all quick release. People couldn't believe speed and accuracy on how fast it got out, because if you can buy a second more of time, you can be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, MVP of the league. But if you're not as athletic as them and you try to play the position that way.
You don't mock Shedeur for loving football. You mock him because it's the only logical reaction to watching someone voluntarily vacation in quicksand. It's chaos wrapped in confidence. And yet, Browns fans, they eat it up. These are fans who proudly wear paper bags on their heads, not from shame, but as a badge of honor. They've survived heartbreak, bad trades, endless rebuilds, and quarterbacks that come and go like seasonal allergies. So when Shedeur says, yeah, this is home, they don't question it. They nod, wipe a tear, and yell to the heavens, finally, someone loves us back. It's heartbreak disguised as hope. Meanwhile, Eisen's standing there watching this love story unfold, muttering, my guy, blink twice if you need help. He's been around the NFL long enough to recognize patterns, and this one's the funniest of all, because every time Shedeur doubles down, Eisen fires off another punchline, comparing his dream to someone claiming they'll turn a busted-up Honda Civic into a Ferrari just by believing hard enough. And honestly, that might be the most accurate joke ever told on live TV, and Shedeur, he's completely unfazed. Sitting in interviews, talking about loyalty and commitment like he's the lead in some Hallmark football special. He's treating the Browns like they're a misunderstood underdog that just needs a hug, while Rich Eisen is in the corner yelling, "Bro, this isn't Disney, it's the NFL." The contrast is hilarious. One man's writing a redemption script, the other's delivering punchlines sharper than any headline out there. Eisen's roast practically writes itself. The setup is too perfect. A quarterback pledging lifelong loyalty to the most unstable franchise in football history.
And then went to the NBA, got drafted, and had a 14-year NFL career. If Shedeur Sanders was a McDonald's All-American talent, physically and based upon what everybody thought, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Stack knows better than anybody. Your gift makes room for you. Stack knows that. Stack has proudly talked about all of the things that he has had to overcome, but because he is so incredibly gifted, it makes room for him. So I just don't like that, like, everybody stop advising Shedeur in a manner in which you wouldn't advise your son. And no, success does not have a dress code, but certain corporations.
That's not a strategy. That's a comedy special in the making. Just imagine the locker room. Shedeur standing front and center like a motivational speaker saying, "We can change history." Meanwhile, Eisen's backstage with a mic cracking jokes like, "Yeah, and pigeons are about to evolve into bald eagles overnight." Then there's that legendary jersey of shame. You know, the one with every failed Browns quarterback's name taped down the back like a scroll of sadness. Each draft pick promised greatness. Each season delivered heartbreak. The playoff droughts, they're not just stats anymore. They're memes, artifacts, proof of pain. It's a museum of dysfunction with free admission. So when Shedeur ties his career to that legacy, Eisen's ridicule becomes a guided tour of football's most infamous disaster zone, complete with a new exhibit labeled the Shedeur Sanders Decision Wing. But the funniest part? The what-ifs. What if Shedeur genuinely believes staying in Cleveland makes him a legend? What if he's picturing statues, parades, and kids chanting his name in the streets? Eisen flips those dreams into jokes so sharp they cut through hope itself, painting a picture of those statues getting egged by angry fans and the street signs reading False Hope Avenue right next to Broken Promise Boulevard. It's brutal, hilarious, and somehow still the most Cleveland thing ever. And here's the twist that makes it all even crazier. The NFL is loaded with stories of players who escaped dysfunction and came out champions. History is full of athletes who ran from chaos and ended up with rings on their fingers and parades in their honor. But Shedeur, nah, he looked at that proven path, shrugged, and said, "I'll take the scenic route through purgatory."
I would say this. Number one, everything, when you're at that position, no matter where you rank on any kind of depth chart as a quarterback, everything you do and say is a job interview. In the NFL, every moment. I think the second thing is this. That 30 or 40 seconds, Stephen A., while he may not be an immature person, that's an immature moment. It is. Because does that 30 or 40 seconds help you in your own building? Like, is that moment, is there anybody in the Cleveland Browns that in that building that sit there and go, "Yep, that's a good moment for Shedeur. He shows growth or maturity, or he handled that well or whatnot. He handled the disappointment." Because in my opinion, I would have had Dylan Gabriel the one and Shedeur the.
Eisen couldn't help himself. He jumped on that line like a comedian spotting fresh material. He called it what it is, the sports version of refusing to get on a lifeboat because you're not done exploring the Titanic. Fans, of course, are eating this drama like it's popcorn at a movie theater. Half of them are cheering Shedeur's loyalty like he's rewriting the gospel of football. "Finally, someone who believes," they scream. Meanwhile, the other half are just waiting for the meltdown so they can post their "told you so" tweets in peace. And Eisen? He's right in the middle playing ringmaster, turning their reactions into one epic roast session that feels less like commentary and more like an NFL-themed stand-up show. But here's where the plot flips. What if Shedeur actually pulls it off? What if he shocks the entire league and turns the Browns from meme material into a dynasty? Suddenly, Eisen's jokes become the perfect setup for the greatest redemption story sports has ever seen. Shedeur would go from being the butt of every joke to being the headline of every highlight reel. The man roasted for loyalty would become the legend who made loyalty pay off. And Rich Eisen, he'd have no choice but to replay those roast clips as the cold open to every future documentary about Shedeur's rise. A reminder that sometimes the biggest jokes turn into the greatest legends. Until that miracle ever shows up, the jokes won't stop. Because right now, Shedeur isn't rewriting history, he's living in it. He's the main character in a storyline that feels more scripted than a primetime drama, and Rich Eisen, he's the narrator with timing so perfect he could headline late-night TV. Every punchline lands sharper than a linebacker on a blitz. This isn't just football talk anymore. It's a full-on roast, wearing shoulder pads and cleats. So when Shedeur chooses to stay with the Browns, it's not just loyalty, it's pure irony in motion. It's courage, comedy, and chaos all rolled into one wild NFL sitcom. And Eisen, he's the laugh track, making sure the world doesn't miss a single absurd detail of this unbelievable saga. The man turned analysis into entertainment, and Shedeur turned Cleveland into the punchline that keeps on giving. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you on the next one.